Winners, losers, what to look for, and then to your questions. Raise your hand if you want to in the conversation. Sean, winner of the week.
This is going to seem a little weird, but not weird, but because we didn't even talk about it today. My winner of the week is Alan Dershowitz. Alan fought back against these allegations in the Epstein and was vindicated. And I asked him over and over again through the last few months, and he was like, I welcomed, I asked the FBI to investigate me. I knew I was innocent. And too many times I feel like people cave. And I just appreciate someone who fights back, who says, I welcome the investigation. Anyway, I thought he's done a great job of defending himself in light of some pretty salacious allegations, and deserves a little credit for how he's done it.
Dan.
A little bit of the same vein. My winner of the week is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She, whatever you think of her, she stood up on this issue. She did not back down despite getting called down to the White House. And, they tried to basically break her arm, and she won. And the fact that there are stories that in her district, people, at least so far, don't seem to be upset with her in a pretty red district, I give her credit. That took some political courage. So my winner of the week is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Winner of the week, the people of New York City. I've been telling people since Mamdani won the nomination, give him a chance. Let's see what he does. And one of the first major decisions he made, he chose a pro-law enforcement police commissioner who happens to be Jewish. And you tell me an anti-Semite who would make his police commissioner Jewish, that's quite a long game plan. So I think everybody should be encouraged on the substance and the symbolism of it, who lives in New York. And let's keep giving him a chance to see how he'll govern, because he was elected by the people.
Well, and by the way, she's also from a very, very prominent family in this city.
Yeah.
And that is another thing that he's,
Yeah, he went with a billionaire police commissioner too.
Yep.
I think she's probably a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Sean, loser of the week.
So my loser of the week is Jasmine Crockett. And can we just play, if we have the video with the sound?
No, this is hard to watch. Thanks for keeping the sound off, guys.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that?
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he.
Oh, man.
So just to be clear,
that's a mercy kill right there.
Republicans were acknowledging Stacey Plaskett texting in real time with a known sex offender. And she ran to the floor to talk about all the Republicans that had taken money from Jeffrey Epstein, obviously naming Lee Zeldin in there, to which Lee, as you saw, responded by saying, and here's the kicker. FEC reports may not have a face on them so that you knew it was the same Jeffrey Epstein, but they sure have a date on them and an occupation. The guy's occupation was doctor, which Jeffrey Epstein clearly not a doctor. And the donation to Lee Zeldin came after the other Jeffrey Epstein was dead. So, I mean, he's not being completely honest with exactly how bad she bungled this. But this reminded me of the George Santos. I didn't say I was Jewish. I said I was Jewish. I mean, sure to say that I didn't say it was the Jeffrey Epstein. I said it was a Jeffrey Epstein. Awesome.
That was an epic Dan, interview.
Loser
yeah. And I thought Sean was going to take that. Mine is Donald J. Trump. Despite him saying that he's just had the greatest 8 months ever, this was a bad week. I mean, for a first term of a president, really the last few weeks since the election have not been great for him. Look, I actually believe he will turn things around, and that he's a political fighter. He's going to try to find a way. But this was not a good week from him. The economy, polls, his own party. He's the loser of the week.
All right. My loser of the week is someone who's been surprisingly and consistently a winner since he became Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. But a tough week for a couple reasons. First of all, he got crosswise with both the White House and John Thune, really for the first time in any significant way, related to a couple things, most prominently, whether the Senate would amend the Epstein resolution. They didn't, or Epstein law, they didn't. But also, I think this has been undercovered is the discharge petitions.
Yeah.
For years, people have tried to do discharge petitions. They've almost never succeeded. Very rare. Not only did it succeed on Epstein, but now they're much more talked about. Now it's been reported this morning by Punchbowl that the speakers think of changing the rules to make it harder to file a discharge petition, something that will almost certainly fail if he does try it. But it shows the extent to which he's in real danger of losing control of the floor, and did on the Epstein matter. And that's a super danger for any speaker, but one who, even if he remains speaker next session, is going to have a very narrow majority. And if you can't stop your dissident members from joining Democrats to sign a discharge petition, it is a much different job to be speaker than it is. And this week, I think he's on notice now. He's going to have to figure out how to keep discharge petitions from becoming common.
And watch
Mark,
healthcare. Watch in December a discharge petition on healthcare.
Banning stock trading by members of Congress. They're talking
Yep.
about it.
Yep.
It's a real danger for him.
I think it's an interesting point you raised. But by the way, on the not only the discharge petitions, but the censures are a problem now where there's bipartisan consensus. But the one thing that I'll say we didn't get a chance to talk about is I actually really thought that soon how the Senate handled that issue of tucking in a provision that these senators who had their phones tapped could get all of this money was ridiculous. And I think that Johnson was outraged, rightly so. The idea that people went through a bunch of people went through the Mueller report and got nothing after getting dragged through massive legal fees. And these senators are basically saying our phone got spied on, so we should get tens of millions of dollars from the U.S. government. I actually think Johnson was absolutely right to be outraged about that.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got to go quick because we're way over. Sean, what to look for this weekend?
Well, as you might tell, I'm in Florida, so I'm looking forward to the weather.
Yeah, Dan.
Given Trump's had a bad week, how does he try to unite MAGA? And does who comes into the bullseye to try to get everybody on board, on board?
I'll steal one that Dan uses quite regularly, has used quite regularly, which is, what's the president doing this weekend?
Yeah, same.
At this point, he's not going to New Jersey or Florida, as far as we know.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.